So the Atlanta Falcons have the pick at number 8, and they make the selection that people are going to have a lot of opinions about. Should you draft a running back? Pick number 8. Should Bijan Robinson be that running back you draft at pick number 8? Is it worth, even if you believe he's going to be an elite running back, is that worth pick number 8? Obviously, Arthur Smith is someone who very much values that position. We saw the success that he had when he was with, Tennessee and with Derrick Henry and all of that stuff. So going to try to, replicate that with Bijan Robinson. A little bit surprising. I mean, again, I'm assuming they don't love Will Levis, so that's why they're not going quarterback. That makes some sense. Still, feels like, it feels like there's better players and more, I'm not a huge fan of drafting running back number 8 overall. That's just how I feel about it. I don't care how, good you think the running back is going to be, which I do think they got a great player. And that's the argument, is they're going to say, hey, we got a great player, whatever. We'll let you decide if it was a good selection or not, which I can understand. They did get a good player. And we're going to get into the film in just a second and talk about why I do like him a lot as a player and why I think that he will work. And honestly, let's just take it from this perspective. Let's talk about what he's going to bring to the Falcons first and why this is a good, smart selection. Why this is a good, smart selection in terms of getting a good player, I mean to say. Because he is someone who I think could be an explosive player. He has home run hitting ability, and if you're going to, and he's a guy who I legitimately trust to be a pure 3-down back who can take 30+ carries in a game. And we saw how valuable that was with Derrick Henry and with Arthur Smith. That is the upside, and for a system that kind of relies on having a good running back, I don't know. I like Tyler Algier a good amount. Now he can be a number 2 guy. Now you have Robinson as the number 1 guy, who I totally understand why they are in love with him so much. Again, we'll get more into that in the film. I have a couple of nitpicks I feel like people didn't talk about as much with him, but they are nitpicks. He's my running back 1. He's everyone's running back 1. Everyone thinks he's great. Again, let's talk about the value of a running back pick number 8. I think that, one thing that I brought up on the podcast is you think about Christian McCaffrey and the value he has. He was not able to get a first-round pick in a trade. Now, again, a little bit older, getting paid. It's not a one-for-one comparison. Although for Bijan Robinson, he's now going to be at least a top 10 paid running back right away, because you do have to pay top 10 picks a decent amount of money. So that's one aspect of it. But still, not getting paid the way that Christian McCaffrey is going to get paid. The reality is, I think people have learned that running backs don't necessarily add the value that we at one point thought that they added. So because of that, there is, it's not necessarily... it's just not a pick that I would have made simply because of that, especially for a team like Atlanta that has plenty of holes, and I don't think it's going to be ready to compete for this year or maybe even next year. So you're now in a situation where, unless I'm wrong, unless they feel like they can compete right away, I'm assuming they still feel like this is a bit of a rebuilding situation. And, you see it where when teams finally compete to rebuild, they need another running back, because at that point, their running back, they fall off cliffs pretty quickly. Again, if he's an elite running back, he will have value, and there's a chance that he could add a lot more value than someone like a Jalen Carter. There's absolutely that chance, even if Jalen Carter ends up being a good player. There's a real possibility that something like that happens. But, it's not so easy to predict if running backs are going to be elite, but if someone is out of this draft class, everyone is going to bank on it being Bijan Robinson. So they got a good player, and let me talk about just why I like the player so much. So first, let's start off with the PFF page. You see that his grades year in and year out have consistently gotten better, and that's a good thing. You want to see players who do get better every single game that they've played, or every single year that they played, I should say. Every game would be great. That's not going to happen too often, but a 95.3 PFF grade is incredible. That's I believe the highest out of any player who's going to get drafted. That's ridiculously good. You can look at the stats on the right if you want to. They're all very good. I mean, all of that dot, every single area is very far over to the right. That's on the bar, which is good. That's where you want it to be. So definitely does a lot of good work. But we know that. I mean, there's no question he's a really talented player. Everyone is fully aware of that. But let's watch the tape and see, is he the generational prospect that people make him out to be, or is he just a good prospect? Well, I think certainly see the flashes of generational talent. So like going over here, for example, you see this play. The way it's designed is it's going to be it looks like it's going to be designed run to the left. That's a left side of the screen. That's how it appears to be. So the ball gets handed off to Robinson. He's able to get past the edge rusher who wasn't unblocked, but still essentially turned into unblocked. But anyway, gets past that situation. And this is where really the dominant skill set of Robinson thrives and comes into play, where you see it's a one-on-one matchup with a defensive player who's coming in to tackle him. Watch how he's able to sidestep him. He's just so shifty, and look at him just go. And that's what people like about him. You know, there have been some Saquon Barkley comparisons, which I'm just going to be honest, I don't think he's quite as shifty as Saquon was coming out of college. I don't. But I can see why the comparisons get made, because he is incredibly shifty and easily the most shifty back in this class, in my opinion. Now, going over here, I will be honest, a couple times I saw him pick a gap that I wasn't in love with. This is something that I don't think is a massive issue, but it is something I noticed, whereas I don't know if he fully has the best vision in this class. That's probably my biggest knock on him, and it's not a huge knock. I don't think he's bad at it necessarily, but you see what's going to happen here. It's going to be, you see where the 5 offensive linemen are going to be blocking. I have circled the back that is Robinson, because there's 2 backs, but the one I circled in yellow, that is Robinson. But that defensive player is going to do something very unique right here. And again, this is a bit of a complicated play, so maybe blaming him isn't totally fair, but just hear me out. You see how the player kind of moves over and shifts over to where he's covering up the gap that is in that side of the field, and Robinson just doesn't pick this up. And again, it's a complex play, but the reality is at the NFL level, there's a ton of complex plays that you do have to pick up a little bit, and I think Robinson can get better at it. It's just something I think he'll have to get better at, is realizing that this gap right here actually isn't open, even though from his perspective, it appears open. As you see, he runs that way. If he had just run the play as designed, which was supposed to be towards the offense's right, so towards the left side of the screen, he would have had plenty of room to run there. He just didn't pick up the linebacker moving, which again, very understandable, not a massive issue, and I think he'll get better at it, but I think it's something he does have to get better at. But again, certainly when you watch his tape, there's plenty more positives than negatives. This is another example where you see the blocking concept on the screen. Watch how right when this play begins, you see that, it's a handoff, and right here is where things get very interesting, because realistically, you don't expect him to get too many more yards at this point. I mean, there's a player who's kind of right behind him who could tackle him, so he has to go up to a top speed, but he's also going to have to juke out the player who's over the middle of the field. You have a blocker, but you have to kind of use that to your benefit. However, watch how that's exactly what Robinson does. And again, he's so explosive and difficult to bring down. Look at how he's able to pick up those yards. So it's stuff like this, which is why he's pretty much everyone's number 1 running back. Generational talent, and when should you select a running back? Well, that can be debated, and I'll let you guys debate that in the comments below, which I'm sure you will. But those are my thoughts on Robinson and what he brings to his new team. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.